Revolutionary salutations to the people of Zimbabwe, comradely salutations to the Zimbabweans in the diaspora, the African continent, and the entire African diaspora. Welcome to yet another episode of the Tête-à-tête. My name is Comrade Zimbabwe. I'm a revolutionary intellectual. And on the platform, as always, I'm joined by none other than Comrade Gift of Ostallos Cde Mlambo, a revolutionary intellectual, a political scientist, and a decorated human rights defender in our context. Comrade, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Greetings, fellow Zimbabweans, fellow Africans.
Yes, thank you so much, Comrade Ostallos. So it's been quite some time since we last recorded a tete-a-tete, I guess, different schedules, and you were having some conferences on the continent. Maybe we'll talk about that at some point. The conferences we are part of and their significance in our struggles, for social justice, for human rights, for democracy. But today in the show, Comrade Ostallos, I want to talk about the economy. There have been a lot of developments in the economy, in as far as the economy is concerned, since the last time we did a tete-a-tete. You and I are aware that currently the country is in the process of making the 2026 national budget. But we can't talk about the 2026 national budget without talking about the 2025 national budget performance as presented by the regime's Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Professor Tête-à-tête Mlambo. We're also going to talk about the recent proclamations by the same Minister of Finance that Zimbabwe, the average Zimbabwean, has reached upper middle income status. That the average Zimbabwean is spending on a day $9. I want to talk about that. Is it reflective of the genuine material conditions of our people in Mzokomba, in Cross-Tete, in Cholocho? Are they on average spending $9 a day? Or these are just economic figures or economic propaganda, as it were? We're going to talk about the public debt, which is a huge concern, and we are worried as the tete-a-tete that when you look at the public discourse in our country, you don't find discussions around the debt, taking precedence on online platforms, even your normal day-to-day conversations amongst Zimbabweans. So I want to have a conversation about the public debt and its implications on our economy. So this is how the tete-a-tete will be structured today. As we always say that like, subscribe, share this episode. But most importantly, note that this is not an interview. As some comrades and compatriots have said in the comment section that, no, this sounds like an interview or stuff like no. This is a one-on-one conversation. That's the English meaning of tete-a-tete. So, Comrade Ostallos, let's start on the national budget making process. What do you make of the national budget making process in our country? We saw consultations, the Parliamentary Portfolio Committee on Budget going around the country soliciting for views. But recently we also saw the Minister of Finance sitting with parliamentarians in Bulawayo talking about the national budget. What's your general comment about how these meetings are conducted, and what do they tell us about how our public finances are managed?
No, thank you very much, Brother Mlambo. Like we do in the Tête-à-tête, we offer political economy analysis of the developments in the country. What we see, the national budget is born out of the National Development Strategy 1, which Tête-à-tête Mlambo and the regime has concluded that has been very successful, particularly jettisoning the country into Zimbabwe becoming a middle-income economy by 2030.
Yeah.
And Tête-à-tête Mlambo assumes in the budget statement and the budget paper by this central government that the Zimbabwean economy has reached the objective of NDS 1. And the assumptions are that, like you have rightly put it, Tête-à-tête Mlambo says that an ordinary average Zimbabwean is living at US $9 a day. Now, here are the problems with the current regime.
Yeah.
First is that the economy is being run through a propaganda and political campaigns. But that's not how you run an economy. An economy is run by data. It is science. It is figures. It is facts. It is the reality.
Live the reality.
That's how you deal with the economy. Those who have attempted in history to try and pretend to that growth in numbers is growth in quality have been proven and termed as those who are advocating for ruthless economic growth, growth without equity. The reality, Brother Mlambo, by Zim stats, shows that an ordinary average Zimbabwean is living at US dollar, less than $1 a day. And why do I say so? Because Zimstat says that 50% of Zimbabweans are in extreme poverty. So how do
define
you measure
extreme poverty?
Precisely the point. Extreme poverty, it means you are living below the poverty, extremely below the poverty that I'm like.
You are struggling.
You are struggling to survive.
Not one meal, but you might even struggle to have a meal a day.
You are struggling to have even a single meal a day. That's extreme poverty. So you look at the salaries that our people are earning. Teachers in this country, soldiers, police officers, all of them are getting a salary below PDL. You get the point?
I get your point.
50% of school-going children need food to survive the stunting crisis that is facing our
and that's according
children.
to Zimstats.
So malnutrition. So it's government-backed statistics that shows that our people are. It's an economy. It's basically our economy is in distress. So that should be the starting point. That our economy is in distress. Therefore, we cannot talk about mid-income economy by 2030, and to say that in fact, when Tulungube raised this position in the budget seminar, it is his own members of parliament of ZANU-PF who were shocked because they know the reality on the ground.
They started making noise.
So someone would think that Tulungube is still staying in Oxford. But if you are staying in Zimbabwe, the reality of the situation in the country tells you that our people are living in extreme poverty. Our people are surviving the difficult economic crisis by less than $1 a day.
Thank you. I want to talk about rural areas, Comrade Ostallos, because you brought in Zimstats, and Zimstats are the ones who do your national census. And their figures indicate that 61% of this country is rural. So in your view, can you say, because you've traveled, I mean, the length and breadth of this country, 2018, 2023, you have traveled this country, you know Mbire, you know Inde, you don't need to Google where Inde is, you know where Mbire is, right? You know, right, in Mbire, the ordinary people are walking for 20 kilometers to get water. You know that in Mrambinda, the ordinary people don't have electricity. Right? So if then the Minister of Finance claims, as he did in Bulawayo, that no, $9 on average per day. But when you look at 61% of our country, which is rural, what can you say the state of poverty, the state of economic inequality in rural areas? What would be your views on that?
Even before we go to the question of the rural economy, let's unpack the mid-income economic characteristics.
Okay,
But Mtuli Ngube says that we are now in the shadows of a mid-income economy. Upper mid-income.
Not just mid-income.
Upper mid-income economy, very correct. Now, what are the characteristics? So Mtuli Ngube assumes in his budget statement that as we stand as a country, we are better than Rwanda. We are like Singapore.
In terms of GDP per capita.
Precisely the point.
Like 2,700.
And when you he says, by saying that, he says we are better than Ethiopia. A country, Brother Mlambo, that has just built the biggest dam project. Hydroelectricity power station using its own domestic resources and the resources from the diaspora.
They didn't even use external funds.
So when you go to Ethiopia in Addis Ababa, you don't need newspapers from the national broadcaster to see the massive industrialization happening in that city.
That's true.
The president of South Africa, when he was touring in Africa before the host G20, was convinced that Ethiopia is one of the fastest growing development cities in the continent.
You mean Addis?
Addis Ababa.
They're building do you know they're building a second airport?
Precisely.
The Bole International Airport now is struggling in terms of capacity because on average there are a number of flights.
When you look at the number of skyscrapers in Addis Ababa,
the quality of the roads is very nice.
Precisely. When you land in Rwanda, in Kigali, You don't need newspapers to tell you about the state of the economy.
Or President Kagame go on TV and say,
you get the point.
Yeah.
When you go to China, when you go to Singapore, when you go to Japan, you don't need the national broadcast. It is the general equality of conditions that tells you the state of that economy. So Mthuli says that we are industrializing. But what is the data saying?
Yeah.
Because that answers the question you raised on rural poverty.
Yeah.
We inherited a dual enclave economy from the Smith regime. So, which is the starting point that we must resolve?
Yeah.
The structure of the economy. So, our structure of the economy is a dual economy. One which is what Smith was able to do. A formal economy and an informal economy. Now,
that informal was highly rural then.
You get the point. Now, here is the problem with the economy that we inherited. Instead of resolving this structural dual nature of the economy, we actually further deindustrialized, further informalized. You get the point? To the extent that informal sector now accounts for more than 87%
of our national economy.
You get the point?
Hey.
With the informal sector only taking about 13%. You get the point?
Yeah.
So that data on its own, that the Ministry of Finance, through the RBZ, has produced to the public, tells you the story.
So what motivates the Minister of Finance to then claim that on average we are spending $9?
That is where some of us think have concluded that this is propaganda. Because data from the same government agencies confirms that our economy is informaalizing. Exports account for a tiny percentage of our economy.
Compared to imports.
Upper middle income economy is demonstrated by its extent and its export culture. You get the point?
That's a characteristic.
Macro enterprises contributed less than 2% of the export earnings in this country.
Right.
Because we have no export culture.
Yeah.
Because the environment in the country is terrible.
And
the politics places a huge premium in the economy.
Yeah.
So for us to build a upper middle income economy, we have to start from the truth, from transparency.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the rural challenges in this country.
Yeah.
With extreme rural poverty.
Yeah.
What are the signs of extreme rural poverty in this country? One is malnutrition, stagnant growth of the rural population. It's the social service sector, the social crisis in the rural areas. Children are walking more than 10 kilometers to go to school.
Yeah.
Look at the crisis when the infant mortality rate in the countryside. Those are not characteristics of an upper middle income economy. Because of the number of children that die during birth.
Yeah.
You get the point?
Why do they die?
If you go to the
income.
countryside, majority of citizens use midwives to give birth.
Yeah.
Not proper medical facilities. Because our health
traditional midwives.
Our health sector is in itself in intensive care unit.
Hey.
So those are not characteristics of a middle income economy.
They are characteristics of a state in distress.
It's a country in distress. You look at rural poverty, Brother Mlambo. Traditionally, citizens used to survive in the countryside by making sure that they survive with subsistence farming.
Yeah.
But now you cannot because of lack of government intervention in subsistence agriculture in the country. So most of these people now cannot survive.
Yeah.
You get the point?
I get the point.
You go to the countryside, you are contracted with urban poverty, rural poverty, to say. So you cannot talk about the upper middle income economy in the face of the poverty that is characterizing the countryside.
Even unemployment in rural areas, serious.
It's precisely.
Yeah.
You get the point.
Unpaid care work is what that rural folk, in particular rural women, do, which is unrecognized.
Look at, if you go to the countryside, more than 90% of rural folks in Zimbabwe survive in terms of access to health. They survive in what is called out-of-pocket financing of their health.
Yet they're unemployed, they don't have money.
So those are not characteristics of an upper middle income economy, because people must be on insurance.
Yeah.
The contradiction, the sharp contradiction about the life in the rural area, brother, is that across the entire country, including the urban areas, 90% of Zimbabweans don't have insurance cover.
Yeah.
So they survive on out-of-pocket financing. You go to a hospital, you are sick, you have to pay. That's a sign of a health care in a crisis. You have a headache, you want to have paracetamol, you have to pay.
You want to give birth?
You want to give birth, you have to pay. You are involved in an accident.
Oh, that one
Before
is
an
always...
ambulance comes to pick you
that
up,
one even.
they need you to pay.
Even if it comes, they ask you, do they have money?
You get the point?
If you don't,
you get the point.
Trouble, yeah.
So people are actually investing in our country. The iron.
Yeah.
They're actually investing in their day of death rather than in their need to survive. That's why you see companies like Nyaratsu. That's why you see companies like Doves.
Funeral insurance, yeah.
People have funeral insurance instead of health insurance. It shows you that we are far away in reality.
Thank you.
From upper
So you have clearly explained to our people that the so-called upper middle income status is propaganda. The so-called NDS one, which is coming to an end very soon. Because I don't know why, but most people don't read. But the NDS one itself, when you read it, says they want to create 700,000 jobs.
Yeah.
By 2025. That's what they said in the NDS one.
Precisely. But and they are only left with 1 month. 1 month. Because it's expiring in December.
But when you read
NDS
Confederation of Zimbabwe Industries report on the state of industry, they said capacity utilization is below 50%.
Precisely.
So if capacity utilization is the state of industry, there are no industries. So where are the 700,000 jobs going to come from? You see what I mean? So the issue of economic propaganda,
yes,
the lack of transparency. But I like an important point you made there on contradictions. One government, different messages coming out. Zimstadzana government, it's an agent of the state. It's giving a different picture of the state of the economy. The hold of the national purse, the Minister of Finance, entrusted to manage our public finances in line with the Constitution and the law, is saying different things. So that alone does not inspire confidence.
Precisely.
That alone speaks to the issue of economic propaganda that you are referring to. And it's a worrisome development. But I want us to move on in the interest of time, Comrade Ostallos. Issues to do with transparency that you spoke about. I want to talk about the public debt crisis. Or maybe before we talk about the public debt, let's talk about the revelation or the proclamation by the leader of the country in Qatar that between 1995 and 2025, Zimbabwe has managed to halve poverty. That we have done well in terms of eradicating poverty, dealing with poverty. In your view, because you touched on poverty a bit,
yeah,
but I want you to go a bit deeper, the state of poverty, even urban poverty. You spoke about raw poverty, but now let's look at urban poverty. Have we halved poverty between 1995 and compare that with China?
Look, it's clear disinformation.
Yeah.
Because while those statements were being made, here in the country, data was being produced about the levels of extreme poverty. In fact, interventions were being made to donors to support the crisis of poverty in the country. Also, part of it induced by the changing weathers and climate change in the country. The regime has put so much blame into climate change induced for responsibilities on our failure to prepare for little harvest in the country. And that again is a human problem. Because the question of sustainability and agriculture as a backbone of the economy is known by all zones in the country. So our lack of investment into agriculture, one. Number two, the corruption that has characterized the agriculture sector is responsible for our inability to feed the country. Why do I raise the question of corruption? And it is documented. Look at the billions were lost in command agriculture.
RBZ data assumption.
It is clear that we lost billions of dollars on command agriculture alone. But now, when we talk about poverty, you look at not just data that shows that our country, majority of the people, 50% is in extreme poverty, like I've said, but also look at the malnutrition that is characterizing school-going children that we talked about. 50% of these children would need government intervention. When we were growing up, Brother Mlambo, we were being taught in home economics.
Yeah, in primary school.
About stunted growth.
Yeah.
And because it was not a common feature,
in Zimbabwe,
they would take pictures from Somalia or Rwanda, which was at war at the time.
Yeah, there was a genocide there. Yeah.
So they would show us picture of what a stunted growth means when we were children. Because we could not get that example from our surroundings.
Yeah, because there was no malnutrition.
But now, 50% of school-going children are stunted.
They are stunted.
They are malnutrition. They would need food. As little as getting porridge. That's the extent of the crisis.
And we rarely talk about stunting, the crisis of stunting.
Precisely.
Thank you for bringing that up. Because because what is going to happen in that generation?
It's a major threat to the future.
Yeah.
And economies that have survived, people that have led countries are people who think about the next generation.
Yeah.
So you cannot be a steward if you're not worried about these children.
50%.
Because this will affect their performance at school. This will affect their performance in terms of their brains.
Yeah, mental development, yeah.
You get the point? This will affect their physical abilities. But there is no investment into resolving that crisis. We have left it to UNICEF. We have left it to who? It's in the hands of foreigners.
And when you look at the 2025 midterm budget, even the minister's revelation that the Ministry of Health only used around 30%, 30-35% of his budget.
You get the point.
Because of late disbursements and stuff like that. But there's a serious crisis of stunting.
Look
you would expect the Ministry of Health to have spent at least 100% of its budget.
The crisis in the health sector, on its own needs another tête-à-tête, because if you look at there's a survey which was done recently by the health sector, which shows that for us to reach the middle-income economy by 2030, we would need to double
our spending.
Not just our spending. We need to double our workforce in the health sector.
Yeah, there's a crisis there.
Because it is facing a crisis. In fact, the same survey says that 40% of the workforce in the health sector faces the risk of migrating out of the country.
That's true.
So for us to curtail and buffer against that, we need to double. But what you need to double, it means you need to have incentives for health practitioners.
Salaries, decent housing.
You need to offer decent housing, decent salaries.
The average needs to drive a nice car.
You get the point.
Not to struggle.
But what is the reality in the health sector?
They bought combis. I mean, combis that are not even proper. They do sugar. Nurses do sugar.
You get the point.
A nurse works at Paririnyatwa, stays as far as Domboshawa, for instance. They don't have a motor vehicle.
What is the status of Paririnyatwa? There is no parasite, but behind this scenes of Paririnyatwa, they're saying we're building a swimming pool.
Priorities.
You see, lack of priorities. But it is a tender. Our country has been destroyed by tenderpreneurs in the pharmaceuticals.
Yes,
it's one of the biggest corruption scandals. The heights of corruption in this country is in the pharmaceuticals. But no one is paying attention. They are looting that sector, hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah.
You get the point.
You need a tête-à-tête on this one. As you said.
Now, you cannot talk about reducing poverty by half when there are these realities in the country. Urban poverty in this country is terrible. So you cannot talk about any poverty. Let's juxtapose with our all-weather friends in Beijing.
Yeah.
China, Brother Mlambo, did not need to hire propagandists in the world. China was able to extract 800 million of its citizens out of poverty.
Inside the generation.
Inside one generation.
Like 35 years or so.
You get the point? Why it was a question of stewardship. When you go to China, in 2015, brother, China proclaimed that its strategy is to ensure that they reach a status where they become the major contributor to exports globally. What does the data of the World Bank say? It says 30%
of global
manufacturing is from China.
It's called the One China policy.
You get the point.
In 2015 and
they called it made in China.
Made in China policy.
You get the point, Brother Mlambo.
That's vision.
So it's vision, it's stewardship, it's direction.
That's dealing with corruption in in China. Interestingly, I've seen videos on YouTube where when the Communist parties gather, maybe Central Committee or Politburo, whatever, you find the police getting in and arresting top officials of the Chinese Communist Party.
Precisely.
I recently read one of the top officials who was arrested, and they are facing the death row for intending to take bribes, not taking bribes. They had the intention. It was discovered that they had the intention to take a bribe.
You see, China, Brother Mlambo,
But when you look at us,
did not grow its economy on propaganda.
No. Yeah.
They look at, if China is able to arrest a billionaire.
Yeah, they can do that.
You get the point?
No one is immune.
On corruption.
Yeah.
No one is excluded. It's a clear policy. Zero tolerance to corruption. It's not the rhetoric.
That's why they lifted 800, as you said,
800 million people
out of poverty in the generation.
You get the point?
They're not joking.
They're not joking.
Let's move on, comrade, to start us in the interest of time, because I'm looking at time.
Yes.
I mean, time is moving fast. Let's move on to the next segment where we look at the public debt crisis. Now, you spoke about transparency earlier on. What are your views on the state of our public debt? Because we're told that when upper middle income status, blah, 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 but the public debt remains an albatross choking this economy for decades now. What are your views on the public debt?
It's actually said that there are no conversation happening. There are conversations, but very few conversations are happening on the debt crisis that Zimbabwe is facing. Now, the first problem that we face is that our government, the regime is not transparent on the status of both the domestic and external debt that our country is facing. Mthuli Ncube's data says that our debt is at 22.6
billion.
But the IMF and the World Bank say that our debt is at above 23 billion.
Yeah.
So there's a disconnection. Already there's lack of transparency.
But still on that IMF thing, it's the same government that has approached the IMF and our creditors, and they have what they call the structured dialogue program. And you don't then be transparent, but you're also sitting on a table with these guys trying to negotiate. What does it say? What does it say about our character?
One, that Zimbabwe is being painted as a country that is not credible.
Yeah.
Because of the dishonesty that comes from the central government. That's one. Number two, the lack of transparency as a direct albatross to the negotiation processes that we must get into as a country with creditors. Because we cannot go into debt forgiveness without having transparency on the extent of the debt.
So how do we get that transparency?
So now, here is the problem again that Zimbabweans must be worried about. Mthuli Ncube says before parliamentarians and before Zimbabweans that from September 2024 to July 2025, our debt ballooned with the $1 billion US dollars.
Inside 6 months.
That on its own would call for someone to resign.
That's true.
And to be removed from government. But it's irresponsibility, it's carefreeness. You get the point.
It's violating the Constitution.
It's violation of the Constitution,
the Public Debt
Management Act.
The Public Finance Management Act.
So it is a criminal conduct.
But he just mentioned, didn't know, even the MPs didn't question. Surprisingly.
Mthuli Ncube, Brother Mlambo, is a constitutional delinquent. Because he has breached the Public Debt Management Act, read together with the provisions of the Constitution of this country. And therefore, should not be the one presiding over
our public funds.
Because he has shown little probity. He has shown irresponsibility.
Not only
with
now,
the national pace.
Do you know during COVID, Mthuli Ncube, according to the general actually, government failed to account for 10 billion expenditure that was done outside parliamentary approval.
But this is a culture in the country. Mthuli Ncube, when he was building that Trabablas thing,
that's another.
He went to parliament to announce that we've brought more money, millions of dollars, without parliamentary approval.
Yet the Constitution says before any loan agreement is signed, Parliament either approves or disapproves.
Precisely. But now,
so what do you have to say about not only, but is it Mthuli Ncube only? What about the Parliament itself? What do we have to say? Because this scenario is also in Kenya, I was reading recently that in Kenya, the parliamentarians don't even understand public debt. The Treasury is also finding challenges such that now Kenya's public debt is spiraling out of control. So what does it say about the quality of those we deploy to Parliament? Because you can't have a Minister of Finance, Comrade Ostallos. You're in a hotel in Bulawayo. He says in 6 months, public debt increased by 1 billion, and no one questions. Life goes on. The Speaker of Parliament is silent.
But look, Brother Mlambo.
Yes.
It is in the same room where members of parliament were saying, we can be indifferent, we can be carefree to your sins of omission and commission. If you are able to give us $150,000
as loans.
So the crisis is a crisis of immunity and impunity. So Mthuli Ncube knows.
It's taking advantage of that.
Mthuli Ncube also knows beyond impunity. Mthuli Ncube knows that his own party has been very deliberate in deploying the most vacuous, the most illiterate, the most ideologically bankrupt caliber of people to go and sleep in that house. That's why you can see a parliamentarian going to parliament to argue for more than 20 minutes about bottle stores.
Yeah.
When Mthuli Ncube says,
in 6 months we've increased by $1 billion.
Over $1 billion.
So in the interest of time, how do we solve the debt crisis?
Before you go there, Brother,
yes.
The same $1 billion, ironically, is the one that is being celebrated that Alinto Dangote is going to invest $1 billion, and we are all called to ululate and celebrate.
Yes.
You get the point. So it is a crisis of stewardship. But what is it that should be done?
Yeah.
Number one, we need to have a proper, transparent, honest debt audit.
Yeah.
We must know the extent of the debt. Because me and you and ordinary Zimbabweans are servicing that debt every day.
Through tax,
that's why we are paying 2% tax. That's why, in fact, look at Mthuli Ncube's data. He shows the amount of money that he has spent trying to service the debt.
300 million a month.
More than 300 million spent by Mthuli Ncube to service debt. So that's the first thing we have to audit, to know the extent of the debt as ordinary Zimbabweans. Number two, we need to ensure that we go to genuine dialogue process with creditors and honest with the proper people with the proper skills. Now there you don't need to be wearing a scarf. You need to be wearing your head as an economist, as a statistician, as a development practitioner, to negotiate with international creditors, for Zimbabwe to go through a process of debt forgiveness. Because the debt places a huge premium on the country's agenda. What is the agenda? It is captured in National Development Strategy 1 and 2. It is captured in their own preamble of the Vision 2030. You are not able to achieve that if you don't resolve the debt question. Because no investment will come into the country that is suffocating in debt and political uncertainty. So, and lastly, is obviously the issue of making sure that once we have an audit, Zimbabwean ought to know who owes who,
how much,
and how was it audited. We are still servicing the debt with the Bank of Brazil. But that man was borrowed by Mugabe to beat up people, and that is the man that was stolen in that scandalous agriculture
mechanization program.
You get the point. We are still paying the Bank of England. But that is a debt, odious debt, that was borrowed from an illegitimate regime of Ian Douglas Smith. So in our negotiation process, we ought to look at the historical genesis
then we say,
of our debt.
Odious debt here. The legitimate debt here. Then on the legitimate debt, how can we then get forgiveness? Odious is cancelled automatically.
If once odious debt is cancelled, it means that now we are able to begin to have an honest process of making sure that we go through debt forgiveness program.
Then we can industrialize.
Then we will talk about industrialization.
Because we have the fiscal space.
And also the debt solution is also twinned with us making sure that we clog and close leakages in the economy.
Illicit financial flows.
You get the point? We are not able to industrialize and develop rather if we don't deal with the leakages in the economy. The RBZ recently showed that we lose 1.5 billion on illicit outflows. You get the point? That is annual. So if we are able to close those leakages,
surely we don't need to borrow anyone.
We
can do domestic resources like Ethiopia, but building that mega hydro project without borrowing from the IMF. The IMF and the World Bank are not our friends.
And what you also need to know, Brother Mlambo, is that the advantage that Zimbabwe faces is that we have our natural resources.
Minerals.
There was a recent songs that were being sang about the issue of investment. And I want to touch briefly on that.
Yeah.
These Mutapa investment funds and so forth. Our biggest advantage that we have as Zimbabwe is our natural resources.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What we need is stewardship
Of the same.
on how to govern, how to beneficiate and benefit ordinary Zimbabwean from those mineral resources that are sitting under our land. Look at countries that have developed. If you look at Norway,
Yeah.
Norway was worse off than us.
Norway.
But Norway became better when it discovered oil. One thing, oil. But if you look at what the Norwegians did when they discovered oil, they did not invite entrepreneurs. They declared that the resources of Norway, which is oil in particular, must benefit first the Norwegian people.
Yes.
Resource nationalization.
Yeah, that's it.
You get the point? This is the same thing with Dubai. This is the same thing with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that's true.
Saudi Arabia is now able to buy Cristiano Ronaldo or the best players because they were able to nationalize their only resource, which is oil.
And manage it prudently.
And precisely.
Deal with poverty, cholera, typhoid, bad roads, lack of clean seven potable. These smaller problems.
It's a question of stewardship, Brother Mlambo.
Stone Age problem.
If we're able to do that, we have diamond in this country.
Oh my God.
In Manicaland, where you come from, there was alluvial diamond.
Yes.
Alluvial means it's on the surface.
Yeah, 2006. People
If you go to Manicaland right now, you can't even see anything, even a solar-powered robot.
That this is the city
That to
of
say
diamond.
this is the robot that we managed to build on the basis of our diamonds. There is nothing.
At some point during the GNU, the Minister of Finance was saying diamond revenue is not coming to treasury.
Precisely because
they said his opposition. Then,
fiscal activities.
The former Minister of Finance from the ruling party also said, no, we are not getting revenue from diamond.
You get the point.
So someone was running a parallel government.
Precisely. You get the point. Look at what's happening right now to Manicaland.
Yeah.
It's continuous extraction.
The Christmas Pass area.
Christmas Pass is going to be something of the past.
Yeah, that's true.
But they're going to go under that mountain.
And they're
going to extract.
And there'll be nothing to show for.
And what will they be doing after they extract gold and diamond in that part of the country? They're not going to build schools. The government says we are in deficit of 2,000 schools.
Yeah, that's what they said at the seminar.
You get the point.
The committee on
That's
primary
what the government said.
Yeah.
They're saying we're in the deficit of 2,000 schools.
And I think it's more than that.
But what do these entrepreneurs and korkozas do when they extract diamond, when they extract gold, which is all over our country? What do? They go and hire Mayweather to just come and wave with people, and then they pay him 1 million. So you can see our difference with China. You can see our difference with
Singapore, Japan, your Asian types.
On top of our resources, the advantage we have, brother, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
The wheel is already there.
Learning by doing.
Unlike Japan.
Yeah.
Unlike Singapore.
Been bombed
unlike Taiwan.
By the atomic bomb.
They do first deal with the wheel.
Yeah.
We're not reinventing the wheel.
It's just a matter of coping.
It's us adapting an attitude of development as discovered.
Development is discovered. Thank you very much, Comrade Ostallos, for your time. So, in the interest of time, we will end here on the point of development is discovered. We have to discover and develop. And the world now, I mean, we can sign good deals and negotiate for better so that we industrialize the motherland. When we speak some from the ruling establishment, think that we're just criticizing. But we have proffered solutions.
Yes.
And the solutions lie in dealing with the debt crisis. Solutions lie in living away economic propaganda and telling the truth. America Cabral says, tell no lies.
Claim no easy victories.
Claim no easy victories, you see. So we need to be honest with ourselves, sit down as a people. We need to have free, fair, and regular elections.
Precisely.
The next episode will focus on the politics. Today we didn't focus on the politics. The next episode will focus on the politics of the motherland. Today it was on the economy. Thank you very much, Comrade Ostallos, for your sharp and incisive analysis on the state of the economy. The solutions that you gave, I think they're noble. It's only that the issue is, will they take them off? That's why I guess the issue of democratic regime change is important so that we usher in a government that is pro-people and pro-development.
Yeah.
Always remember that better is not good enough. The best is always yet to come, I think.